Hi there, EDSP 5310 Special Ed Law folks. I've got a short video that I want to share with you all tonight that hopefully will answer some questions that you all have been having about assignment 2, having to do with the chart that needs to be completed with the various codes. I've had several questions about that, and I think I actually want to revise the assignment just a bit and to give you a little bit of insight into a better way to complete it. So I'm going to share my screen here and show you a better way, a shortcut for completing the assignment. So I'm sharing my screen, and what you'll see here is the website for ESC 18, the Region 18 website out in Midland, Odessa. And those of you who are already teachers know that all around the state, there are education service centers that are supported by the Texas Education Agency. And TEA is in the news with some regularity. In fact, it was in the news today. The Texas Education Agency supports these regional service centers that are in all of the big cities around Texas and some of our smaller towns to support the local school districts. And so each one of those service centers, there are 20 around the state, and each one of those service centers has a special function or two that it does in addition to all the support that it does locally for the school districts in its geographical region. So in Fort Worth and in Stephenville, we are in Region 11. Some of you, though, don't live in or work in those particular areas. You may live or work in the Waco area, and that's Region 12. You may be closer to Dallas, and that's Region 10. And maybe if you're a little further west, you may be in Region 14, which is out of Abilene. Region 12 is out of Waco. And I used to work at Region 11 in Fort Worth for a number of years. And so each one of those service centers is assigned a particular function. Region 18 is assigned the function of coordinating a website called the Legal Framework. And it has all of the legal citations there for special education. It is a gold mine for anybody looking for information about special education. And it's actually much easier to navigate than the side-by-side document. So I was talking with one of your classmates yesterday and determined that it's probably better to just use the Legal Framework website rather than to try to navigate through that side-by-side document. As I told your classmate, I actually inherited this course last year from another professor, and I'm just now kind of getting my feet under me with this course. I love special ed law. I've done lots and lots of workshops through the years having to do with school law. I taught an undergrad course in school law a number of years ago, but last year was the first year I've taught the graduate course in school law. And so I'm still trying to kind of figure out how I want to teach this course myself. And so this is an assignment that I inherited from the previous professor. What I'm going to do next year, what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to drop the side-by-side element of this assignment. And we're just going to get everything that you need from the Legal Framework website. So if you're struggling to find the side-by-side, and I also discovered that the links and resources component of the instructions is visible on my side of the course, but not on yours. And I'm still working on that. But what I want you to do is disregard any reference to the side-by-side. It's a very lengthy document, and everything that you'll find there is on this website. So I'm going to show you how to get there. navigate to it this way. And if you have trouble, send me an email or give me a phone call. I'll be in the office on Thursday all day at my Stephenville phone number. Or you can shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. So here you go. You go to ESC 1818.net and it'll take you to this homepage right here that you see on my screen. If you scroll down a little ways, you'll see this icon that you see here in the middle of the page that says Legal Framework Statewide Leadership Project. And as I said a few minutes ago, they lead all of the state of Texas with this project. So click on this, or actually you may have to click down here on the blue spot, and that takes you to this page. This is the main page for the legal framework. And when you get here, you can walk your way through this in a lot of different ways. You can go to the Getting Started page. If you want to just cut to the chase, go here to the page that says Frameworks. And when you go to Frameworks, all of these links take you to the various pages that have to do with all of these different areas of special education. So I'm just going to give you a quick example. If we wanted to find out about Child Find, now that's the responsibility that a district has to go out and look for students with disabilities. If you want to know more about that, then you would click on this link here for Child Find. And then that takes you to the page that tells you anything you want to know about Child Find. And if you'll notice, this section here says federal and state requirements. So anything that you would need to find out about Child Find, whether it's a national or a federal regulation or a state regulation, something that's specific to Texas, it's going to be described here in this center section. And then the legal citation or the code that you need to find for that is going to be over on the right, the one that justifies that in the law. Now, you can click on any of these. Let's just look at this first one. All children with disabilities residing in the state, regardless of the severity of their disabilities, and who are in need of special education and related services, must be identified, located, and evaluated. So where does that come from? That's in the law? Yeah, that's in the law. And where in the law? Well, if we go over here to the right where it says citations, you'll see 300.111A1, and then I think that's a little I. But if we were to click on that, which I'm going to do right here, it takes us directly to where that's found in the law. And that's in the Code of Federal Regulations. That's in IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And what you find here then is exactly what the law says about that. And so if you were completing the chart in this week's project, this week's assignment, then this would be the citation you would be looking for if your question were about Child Find, if it were answering this particular question. So here is a citation that gives you some specifics about Child Find. Now, if I back up, go back over to my my chart that tells me all about Child Find, you'll see that it just goes through and describes every single detail you could possibly want to know. So the center section kind of fleshes it out in common terminology that you would use if you were having a conversation about it. And then over on the right is the legalese, where the topic that you've just looked at in the center is actually described in the law. So anything that says 300 is out of the federal law. Those are national laws that the U.S. Congress has passed. And those are in federal regulations. The U.S. Department of Education has put those into regulation format after they've been passed into law, ratified by the U.S. Congress. Now, let's see what this TGC is. Let's see. That is the Texas Government Code. Okay, so that is a state regulation. state regulation, and this one is 392002. And it's talking about how our state legislature has told us that we need to use specific language when we're talking about people with disabilities. So the legislature and the Texas Legislative Council are directed to avoid using the following terms and phrases in the new statute or in any new statute or resolution, and to change those terms and phrases used in any existing statute or resolution as sections including these terms and phrases are otherwise amended by law. And then it says, we don't want to use the term disabled. We don't want to use the term developmentally disabled. We don't want to use the term mentally disabled. As you can see, there's a trend here. We're trying to get away from terminology that says disabled. We don't want to use mentally ill. We surely don't want to use mentally retarded, handicapped, cripple, or crippled. So any new law going forward is going to dispense with those words and replace them with other words. And then you can see here some of the things that we're going to replace, directed to replace as appropriate terms and phrases with the following preferred phrases or appropriate variations of those phrases. Persons with disabilities, persons with developmental disabilities. So this is that person first language that hopefully you've heard about before now. Persons with mental illness. So instead of the mentally ill, people who are mentally ill. And we don't use the word retarded at all. And then it goes on and talks a little bit more about a newer preference that we have within the community of people who are deaf or have hearing loss. They don't like the terminology auditory impairment or speech impairment. They prefer the terms deaf or hard of hearing. And as I've talked about with my diagnostician students, this is new. And this is not enacted into our verbiage yet, but it's stated here that it's a preference. And so as new laws are passed going forward, we'll change that terminology, just as it says up here at the top. So let's go back and look at another one. Let's see. Anything with a 300, as I said, is part of IDEA. Here's one that says 42 USC. That's the United States Code, and those are definitions. Definitions of the term enroll and enrollment, homeless, things like that that maybe need clarification in the law. So those don't come directly out of disability law, but they come out of other portions of the law that have relevance here. So let's see, several of these are 300. Those are all out of IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Here we get down to a reference to referral for possible special education services, and you can see that has an 89. Well, I wonder where 89 comes from. Let's see. If we click on that, that's the Texas Administrative Code. Okay, that's very specifically school law in Texas. So that's our description of a full and individual initial evaluation. And you can read all about that. But as you can see, anything with an 89 is going to be coming out of Texas Administrative Code. And you can see the notation down here at the bottom tells you exactly when it was amended and when it was entered into law. If we skip on down a little further, you see an abbreviation here that says TEC 26004A. That's talking about intervention strategies. Let's see what that means. TEC, you may already know, is Texas Education Code. So we've got Texas Administrative Code, Texas Education Code, Texas Government Code. So we have several different types of Texas law that we'll see popping up here on the legal framework. So what I want you to do is use the legal framework as your reference. It's a website that's available to anybody. You don't have to subscribe to anything in particular. I do think I'll show you one more thing here, though. on the very first page, and here's a map of all of the different regions around the state. And it shows you where their service center is located. If you go back to this page right here, you can put in to this spot your particular school district. And not only will it tell you the federal laws and the state laws, it will tell you any policies and procedures that are specific to your school district. So let's see, I live within the Fort Worth ISD. So find my school district. If I want to know specifically what the rules are for special education in my school district, let's see, Fort Worth ISD. And then I'm going to search. And my county district number is 220905. And that's the thing you've got to have. So I clicked on that. And now anything I click on will give me not only the citations over here on the right-hand side, as you can see, but it will also tell me the board policies and the operating procedures that are specific to my ISD. And you'll see those up here at the top. Board policies for Fort Worth ISD and operating procedures for Fort Worth ISD. Now, this would be helpful if you, perhaps if you were a parent and you had a beef with your local school district and you wanted to see what their particular policies or procedures were in a certain area, and you know, are they doing what they need to be doing for your child? This is going to help you with that. Most board policies are the same. Most school districts adhere to one set of board policies that are accepted across the state by almost every school district. So there's kind of a standard that most school districts adhere to. Operating procedures, there are a couple of sets of operating procedures that are out there that most school districts adopt, but there is some variation from district to district. So, but if you were to put in a whole bunch of different school district names here and compare board policies and operating procedures, board policies would almost always be exactly the same. School boards just almost always line up with the same policies. Operating procedures might vary a little bit, but not a whole lot. There's going to be some things that are very district specific, but not a whole lot. Let's just click on one of these and see what the operating procedure is. Oh, no, I don't really want to download that. I'll let y'all do that on your own if you choose to. You'd have to download their whole document, and I don't think I want to do that tonight. Okay, so I hope that that answers some of the questions that some of you may have had. I'm still working on getting that link to the resources live on your end, but you have no immediate need for it right now because those the side-by-side is not something that I think I want you to even bother with right now. Use the legal framework for making all those connections and getting your citations, which are over here on the right-hand side. You've got your federal and you've got your state. Now, you don't want to bother with local policies or procedures. Just your federal and state is what you're going to be looking for. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you have any further questions on this topic, or if you need any more clarification about this particular assignment, shoot me an email or give me a phone call on Thursday. And I hope this gives you some clarification. Thanks, ladies, and I'll look forward to seeing your assignments. Bye-bye.